Hello and welcome to the Browns Blitz. Today is Tuesday, October 27th. I'm your host, Rod Bloom. Joining me today is my brother, Jeff. How are things going, Jeff?
Going good, Rod. How's it going there?
It's going pretty good. No complaints whatsoever. We have a guest with us today, Patrick Monroe. You go by Patrick?
Yep, sure. Patrick's good. Yep, Patrick from Pencil Storm. Yep.
How are things going, Patrick?
I can't complain. Like as we just talked about, this is a little better Tuesday than last week in terms of Browns land. So I'm doing all right.
Yeah, 5-2. Browns are 5-2, coming off another thrilling win. So yeah, we got a lot of Browns to talk about. Before we do that, we're going to turn the floor over to you, Patrick, and just kind of give you a few minutes here to talk about your Browns journey. Your life as a Browns fan, maybe how it started, and memories or favorite players. Anything you want to share with anybody who's listening.
Absolutely. I don't know how many other fan bases can really call our fanship a journey, but I think Browns fans kind of that's ubiquitous to all of us. Child
Sure.
of the 80s. I grew up on the west side of Cleveland. Watched the drive and fumble with my dad. Bernie Kosar went to my church growing up, so we'd see him at mass. So huge part that those 80s teams were just such a big part of my growing up and my existence. And then you move into the 90s, the move. In the early 90s, I went to college in Pennsylvania for a little bit. A lot of Steelers fans there, so actually got to watch that playoff loss where we were winning and then losing with a bunch of Steelers fans. So that might of all the hardships and pain, that was one of the worst ones, maybe even more than the drive and fumble. And this have continued to watch. Obviously, the story of them coming back has been so big, and so 99. I'm living in Columbus now. And get to find pockets of fans and hang out. And it's a really big part of the people we hang out with. And my wife's also from Northeast Ohio. It's ingrained in you. So a lot of our friends, big Browns fans. And then I've met Colin, who runs pencilstorm.com. He's also a Browns fan and wanted a little Browns coverage on the site. So been doing that since I think about 2013. So kind of just off and on covering the Browns on the site. We do a couple podcasts a year, and then we also do regular spots on CD 102.5 down here in Columbus as well. Kind of jump on every now and then and add some Browns news, good or bad. Usually it's been bad for most of the past few years, but I think we might be on a little bit of upswing. So that's in a nutshell my journey.
Excellent. Yeah. Let's throw your Twitter handle out now. It's at North Coast Posse.
That is correct. So it's me under the handle Big Money, and then also the Ice Cube. He's also a writer on it, and then we are the North Coast Posse. So yeah, it's at North Coast Posse on Twitter.
Excellent. All right, guys, let's move on and talk about the 5-2 Cleveland Browns. It's just fun to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Browns win a thriller, 37-34 over the Bengals. Man, game had a little bit of everything in it. I don't know where to start. So I guess I'm just going to turn it over to you guys and let you guys start. Jeff, what were a couple of the biggest moments of this game for you?
Wow. Just the turnaround, I think, with the offense after, looking completely out of sorts in the first quarter, putting things together in the second quarter was huge. There were some amazing plays by individuals in this game, but I guess what really struck me was just how guys stepped up. I tweeted something about that the other day that, the Browns are now without their starting running back, their starting tight end, and their starting wide receiver, number one guys at all three of those positions. And to still be averaging 31 points a game and looking as efficient as they did for three of the last three quarters was pretty cool. It's really a good sign for things to come.
Yeah, I just have to talk about Baker for a second. We'll get into a discussion on him a little bit later, but what he did, just watching that, starting 0 for 5 with a pick, and then really not having an incompletion the rest of the game. He had one incompletion. It was the spike. Okay, so what was he? He had what, 20 or 20? He had 21 completions after that.
Yeah.
It's hard to understand, really, how a guy can do that. Go from that 0 and 5. Now I know he had one pass. Kareem Hunt dropped one of those, which doesn't happen very often. So we're not getting on Kareem Hunt here, but he dropped one. But 20, pretty much 21 passes in a row. 20 in a row is what's going to count, okay? Because he set a club record. But it was incredible to watch that turnaround, and that's what you were saying, Jeff. But just the actual numbers, it was hard to believe you're actually watching it. I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. So, Patrick, you don't have to talk about Baker. Let's go back and let you give us a couple of the key plays, key moments in that game.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rod, anyone who knows me knows I'm more than happy to talk about Baker. I do it quite often. So actually, I'm probably a little tired, but very positive. I'm a big Baker guy. And I guess as Browns fan, we're kind of predispositioned to maybe look at some of the dark side. We've been through some 1-31. And so I don't want to belabor the middle of the defense is bad, but what I want to talk about is just some of the plays Denzel and Myles made, just playmakers, and it's what we're going to need until we get some holes fixed on this defense. Just having two studs who actually can step out and make plays and game-changing plays. So Denzel Ward is one of the big things that sticks out to me to that game, because some of the things he did were just amazing. The stop at the goal line, the play where he actually slipped under a block to make a tackle in open field, just absolutely amazing. So Denzel's one of the things that sticks out to me. Good to see Hollywood. I'm a big Hollywood Higgins guy too. I thought he was a steal in the draft, and just loved the ride in 2018 when he started to break out a little bit, and good to see him back. So, I will probably Denzel and Hollywood are the two things that stick out the most to me right now.
Yeah. So Jeff, talking about Denzel Ward, the beginning of the season, the Browns, Greedy's hurt. Denzel's kind of banged up, and we're worried, about this. But Denzel's been in there most of the time, and he's played phenomenally. So it feels like we've seen him take the next step in his development. Do you feel that way? Do you feel it? How much better is he this season versus last year?
Yeah, I don't know that he's necessarily any better from a ability standpoint. I mean, these are the kinds of plays we've been seeing Denzel Ward make since he was at Ohio State. I think he's a tremendously talented guy when he's healthy. That's what you want from the leaders on your team. And, between Myles and Denzel, those are the two guys that obviously the two most talented guys on the defense, and you want them to impact the game. And Myles has been doing that for the last 5 games. And I think Denzel has always been able to do that when he's healthy. And it's great to see him out there impacting the game in all the ways that he can, interceptions, passes defended, making those impactful plays is why you take a guy that high in the draft at one of those key positions. And I think Denzel, last year was banged up a little bit. This year, you're seeing what a healthy Denzel Ward is capable of.
You think he's changed some minds as to how important it's going to be to keep him on the Browns, to extend him going forward? I think a lot of people were really concerned about the injuries piling up, but seeing him play the way he's played this season, you think I really haven't heard a lot of talk about him as far as his future with the Browns. I think people really have noticed the way he's played.
Right.
But I think that people should see that how much of a key he is to that defense now.
Right. I agree. I think when you see those critical plays being made, it reinforces how important it is to have guys at those key positions. And in the NFL, defensive end and cornerback are the two critical positions on defense. And we happen to have two guys that are highly talented, among the top guys in the league at their position. Yeah, you always have to think about injury, but how hard is it to go and replace Denzel Ward? I think it's one of those guys that you have to try to keep on the team.
Yeah, I assume you agree, Patrick.
Yeah, but I have to be honest. I mean, I live in Columbus. I'm a Buckeye, and obviously I was a big fan of him. But the durability was an issue at time, and I would be a liar if I said I wasn't concerned. But the guy can play. He's so important. So he looked like he felt real healthy, and he was playing with a little bit of reckless abandon on Sunday, like he's a little bit past the injury. So I think he's an integral part of this team moving forward. But I would be a liar if I said I wasn't one of the people in the camps of, geez, I don't know if this guy can stay on the field. So he keeps like this, he's a game changer. It's that simple.
Yeah. So speaking of game changers, let's just move right into Myles Garrett, guys. Myles has set the tone on defense. I think he's won some games for the Browns this year. It's debatable how many, but he has been as advertised and probably better. Through 7 games, 4 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 9 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 13 quarterback hits, 22 total tackles. And I was just looking this up. I think everybody probably knows the number is 14, which is the club record for sacks by Reggie Camp back in 1984. It's kind of funny. The Browns have a rich history. We got Lou the Toe Groza, one of the all-time highest scoring guys in league history, and Jim Brown, and just a stable of great running backs that have played in Cleveland, and Otto Graham, great quarterback. When it comes to guys who get sacked at quarterback, we haven't had that many. So I'm looking at this, and Reggie Camp did not have a very long and distinguished career in Cleveland. So if you take Myles' season right now with 9 sacks, he's actually already had this season the 12th best sack season that any Brown has ever had. Okay, and 2 of those seasons above him are him. So yeah, it just shows you, that's one place the Browns have lacked, but Myles should easily shatter this record this season. And I'm going to talk about him a little bit more, and then I'm going to let you guys weigh in, because I was just looking at, I didn't project Myles' numbers out. I did do projections for Odell and Baker, but over the course of, he's got 9 sacks, so it probably projects to about 20, for the season, I would say, somewhere around in there. You think about a couple guys who have been probably the main guys you think of as far as being disruptive on defense over the past several seasons, and I just wrote down numbers for Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald. Both happened to be in 2018. I think it was probably the best season for each of these guys. And in 18, Khalil Mack had 6 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 12.5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, 18 quarterback hits, and 47 tackles. So Myles is on a pace to kind of blow those numbers away. And I know these guys all play, different. I would say Khalil Mack doesn't really play the same exact position as as Myles. He's not always playing defensive end, and Aaron Donald certainly doesn't. He lines up as a defensive tackle most of the time. But Aaron Donald's numbers in 18 were 4 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 20 and a half sacks. But he had 25 tackles for loss and 41 quarterback hits that year. So, but he's going through the middle, so it's a little bit different. But my goal there was just to say that Myles, the season he's having, is right up there with these guys who people think of as as tremendously disruptive, guys who pretty much took over the league. So, Patrick, I'm going to let you weigh in first on Myles and the impact and your thoughts.
And I think when you use those as a comparison, one thing that sticks out is both Donald and specifically Mack had way better players surrounding them. I mean, there were good linebacking corps on both those teams. Specifically, Myles is doing this on a ramshackle of a defense. I don't want to keep harping on that, but I am a little worried about the defense. But I think that's one of the big things to kind of have a season reminiscent of Mack's season that you just referenced, without the players that Mack had around him, is doubly impressive. So, and we're putting a lot of pressure on him. I hope we can we flip some trades or do something to take a little pressure off, because I don't know if we can live like this. And we've proven we can't do it against the really good teams. Against the Bengals, it will suffice, but we got to get him some help.
Yeah, I agree, Jeff.
I think Patrick's completely right. Is there such a thing as a franchise defensive end? That's what he is. I mean, and yeah, he's doing it without a great supporting cast. I don't think anybody is surprised by what Myles Garrett's doing. I think every defense in the league knows what he's capable of and game plans for him, and he's still able to put up those kind of numbers. Just historically, I would say one thing. I don't know when sacks became an official statistic, but some of those older Browns teams probably had some great defensive linemen that we're looking past just because it wasn't a statistic back then. But no question, he earns his big paycheck every game. And we got to figure out how to put some more quality players around Myles and Denzel Ward. I asked somebody on Twitter this week. Obviously, those are our top 2 guys on defense. Who are 3, 4, and 5? It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, that's a rough question.
Yeah, it is tough. I think you'd have to say probably one of the defensive tackles would have to be in there, but I don't know which one.
Yeah, I mean, Sheldon Richardson has probably been, in terms of consistency and value to the team, has probably been there. The other guys on the defensive line have had their moments, but anybody else in that back 7, is a question mark as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, Malcolm Smith's played pretty well, but yeah, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah, he's had some big plays. Yeah. But I wouldn't say that, that's an easy thing to quantify. Who else is untouchable on that defense? It's those 2 guys.
Yeah, you're right. So let's talk about Baker again, guys. I'm not going to bore you with all the stats, but I just want to throw this out there. Baker's average per game, his average is 18 completions and 28 attempts for 199 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. How do you guys feel about that going forward?
Like I said, I'm a big Baker guy. And what I'll say is everyone knows about the famous Browns quarterback jersey with all the names on the back, and we all saw the memes. It's been shoved in our face for years. So to say we've seen bad quarterback play, we know what that looks like. This is different. He puts the ball. He's got velocity. Seeing someone with velocity, a guy that will make plays, it's different. I think he's doing what he needs to do. I'm sure we'll touch on the Odell thing and what the offense will look like better. I know that's been a big topic of discussion, but I like when he gets to spray the ball a little bit, and kind of pick and choose a different receiver each time rather than kind of locking in. But I'm a big Baker guy, and we've seen our fair share of bad quarterbacking. This is not it. He's different. He is a guy I think we can ride over the next few years.
Yeah, what do you think, Jeff? What do you think of those numbers?
Well, look, you and I have talked before about Baker, and really the question is the ceiling. What's his ceiling? And we just don't know that. The numbers that he's got right now, I think, are adequate for a pretty talented football team, pretty talented offense, to be able to put up a lot of points. If we're scoring, we're averaging 31 points a game right now. Okay. Yeah. Problem is we're giving up 31 and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not that we need more offense. Okay. So from Baker's perspective, I think he has been more than serviceable as a NFL quarterback that can get you to 5-2. Okay, the big arguments out there right now are, is he going to go to a Pro Bowl? Is he going to get you to a Super Bowl? Well, we're too early in the conversation for that, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not gonna talk about whether he's going to be the next Brett Favre. Okay, I'm fine with him just being Baker Mayfield and putting up 31 points a game. That's fine. The thing I'll say about Baker, though, is that he seems to play his best football when he's got a chip on his shoulder. And that goes back to his days at Oklahoma, where, when he feels like he's being disrespected, when he feels like the whole world's out to get him or everybody's against him, okay, is when he seems to play his best. So, you know what? It pisses me off when people go after him unnecessarily. But God, if he plays like he did against Cincinnati, bring it on. Go ahead and rip the guy, because he just plays better.
You bring up a good point. I really hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah, I think, again, people say it's against Cincinnati defense, but, I think we kind of saw what he can do. And we've seen it before, but we saw what he can do in throwing 5 touchdown passes. And I was trying to find the last Browns quarterback to throw 5 touchdown passes in a game, and I couldn't find it, guys. I looked and looked. I just couldn't figure it out. So if anybody knows.
Somebody said Kelly Holcomb did.
I was not it's probably, Holcomb is always the go-to trivia question when you can't
Kelly
find
Holcomb.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know Otto Graham threw 6 twice, but that's the only thing I could find, back in a long time ago. But that's all I could find. Nobody else has thrown 6 other than Otto Graham. But yeah, so, for him to throw 5 touchdown passes in a game, that's certainly a glimpse of the ceiling. At least we know that Baker's got that in him. Does that mean he's going to do it every week? No. Does that mean it certainly means he has the ability to go out there and play like that? So if you have a guy that can do that, you need to give him a shot and give him, distance. I guess, but then there's what you said, Jeff. I guess if you want to keep ripping on him and make him play good, go for it. Right.
Well, and here's the other thing, Rod, is I tweeted something out a couple of weeks ago, and you and I haven't talked about it, but there's an expectation level with a first overall pick. And I made a basketball comparison, and I took some heat for it. But LeBron was number 1 overall, and Anthony Bennett was number 1 overall. Okay. Well, there's a lot of room in between those two. And I don't care who you pick, but my point was, maybe he's not LeBron, but he's certainly not Anthony Bennett, but somewhere in between there's probably a pretty good quarterback that, he's going to throw some interceptions. He's going to have games. He's going to have drives where he looks terrible. Okay. But there's been a lot of quarterbacks in the league that have had careers like that and won a lot of games along the way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he is today. Okay. When we talk about that ceiling, maybe he gets better, maybe he gets worse. I don't know. But what he is today is a guy who can get you 31 points a game. That's proven. And we know there's going to be some mistakes. We know there's going to be some times where we want to, scream at him. Okay. But he's a good enough guy to get us to, a 5-2 record right now. And the reality is there's not a workable plan B, where all these people are saying, we need to upgrade. There is no upgrading. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's be realistic. Okay. We're not going to trade for somebody that's going to be an upgrade. We're not going to draft somebody that's going to be an upgrade.
Right.
And we are where we are for the next several years. Okay. And I've said it before, wins are really important. Wins are mission critical this year. Okay. If Baker keeps playing the way he's been playing, we're going to have a lot of wins, and that's all that matters.
And so, Patrick, final thoughts on Baker?
What I think needs to be looked at is the fact that we are scoring 31 points a game, but we have to. So he's put in a position. I mean, we're not winning these games 35-14. I mean, if he doesn't come out and throw for 5 touchdowns, we lose. And I think that puts him in a position sometimes where he does force throws because he has to make plays. I think if we improved on defense, and I kind of reference this is going to be an ongoing theme for me today, this bashing the defense, but he absolutely is in a position right now where he has to come up with a way to get this offense to 30, 35 points every game. And I think that does wear on him. He's a leader. I think he feels the pressure to make plays. And I think that when we see some of those balls he squeezes or he makes it, it's because he is trying to make a play. The Steelers game specifically, where he was just trying to make something happen. So we improve the defense. We get him in a position where he doesn't. That would be kind of nice. So I think he's pressing a little bit, and that's led to some of his decision-making issues. And I think that you're going to get that with him. He's a leader. He is a gunslinger. You referenced Favre earlier. Obviously, it's way too early to start putting him next to Hall of Famers, but I think there's a mindset that he has that's similar to Favre, and that you're going to have to live with some of that every now and then. But it's because he's trying to make a play.
Yeah, I agree with you. So let's move on to Odell, guys. All right, Odell, he's done for the season with the ACL. He goes out in the first quarter, and I don't know the exact timing. I don't know if he went out and Baker's strength started right then, but some people are gonna say that it's because Odell's not out there and Baker's not trying to force feed him and all this stuff. I don't know. I'll let both you guys weigh in on that. What I did do is I projected Odell's numbers out for the season, assuming that he just played the 6 games. Based on his numbers through 6 games, I mean, he played less than a quarter. Baker hadn't completed a pass yet. So 61 catches, 850 yards, and 8 touchdowns this season. And then throw in the 1 rushing touchdown, make it 2 maybe if you want. So I want you guys to each give me your thoughts on the idea or what you think Odell not being out there does. Can it truly be a plus, or is it obviously a negative because of the guy's ability? So, Patrick, I'll let you go first on this one.
Well, I guess I'll open this up by saying, and this will kind of give you an idea of where I stand on it. If I was given a choice on who I could get back right now, I would take Wyatt Teller back over Odell. If that gives you a little idea in terms of who I think would be a more important plug back in. Odell's obviously a superior talent, but he does suck up a lot of the attention. I think he has expectations as he should. He's a superstar. He led the league in jersey sales for a lot of years. I think that does weigh in Baker's mind. The offense, I mean, that 2018 ride was amazing. I loved watching that team when Baker was on fire, and that's what it looked like again on Sunday. And the one common denominator is Odell wasn't out there. So it's a controversial take, I think, to kind of come out. And I don't want to be anti. I'm not pro-injury. I'm not anti. I think we're going to see a better Baker, a more efficient offense without Odell, because I just don't know if he was the right player to plug into what we were trying to do. You get an opportunity to get a superstar like him, you have to take it. I'm not questioning the trade. It doesn't sound like Zeitler's working out there. I've listened to some Giants stuff and everything, and Peppers, and I don't think the trades are. Yeah, I don't think we have anything to worry about on that end. But I'm interested to see what happens. I'll be more than happy to eat crow. I want him to get better. I don't know where we go. If we could get, once again, to go back to my harping on the defense, if we can get some defensive help for him, I would not be adverse to that. But I'm kind of excited to see, maybe with some 21 personnel, get 2 tight ends out there and let Baker get the ball out of his hands quickly and not have to worry about appeasing a player, which I think happens. Obviously, I have no proof of that, but that's simply my opinion.
Guys, Sunday is November 1st already. Don't let the holidays get away from you. Now's the time to act. Go to Etsy.com and check out the store Skippin' Stones, SKIPPINSTONEZ, and check out the handmade jewelry and other gift ideas there. There's free shipping on qualifying orders, and you won't have to worry about the big delays in shipping that's going to happen this year. So act now, check it out, and now let's get back to the podcast. Jeff, what do you think of that? Or what are your thoughts, period?
Shoot. Wow, that's tough. I mean, well, this is kind of the problem with the mentality that we want to have an all-pro at every position. You can't make everybody happy. Everybody can't get their numbers. We knew going into this season that this was not going to be an offense that featured OBJ. This was going to be a Nick Chubb-driven offense, and Austin Hooper, and Odell was going to have his role, and I think he bought into that from the way he was talking. The body language, for the most part, was better this year. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of talk about the Pittsburgh game, some antics on the sideline. I mean, I just saw a competitor that hates losing, and the coach had told him, "Your day's over, thank you." And I would probably be doing the same thing he did. I'd be throwing my jersey and kicking the ball boy or whatever. But I don't think that this offense is better without OBJ. I think that's ludicrous to say that you take one of the top receivers in the league out of your offense and you got better. There's a certain amount that can be said for chemistry, but if teams don't have to game plan for OBJ, how does that affect everybody else? It's no different than taking Myles Garrett off your defensive line. Okay, it affects everybody else when he's not out there. So I would take 850 yards and however many receptions you said from OBJ if we win 12 games. And I think he would too.
Yeah.
So, I think we're going to be okay with him injured. I think we're okay with Chubb injured. We're okay with Austin Hooper getting his appendix out and being out for 6 weeks because we've got some depth. We're very fortunate that, over the last couple of seasons, this roster has been put together with some good quality backup guys that are able to step in and play at a high level. And I think guys like Rashard Higgins and Kaderil Hodge when he comes back, and and DPJ, they're going to get their opportunities now, and let's hope they continue to take advantage of them.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. The other factor for me is that I really feel or felt like, especially with OBJ, I felt like Stefanski is really utilizing the skill set of these guys more than what we've seen, from from prior regimes. Using his speed, kind of just in some of the plays. So I think even if you're not highlighting him, using him, throwing him, 10 targets every game, you're still using him in various ways. So, but I agree with you. I think he was a little bit different from last season. As far as the team being better without him being out there, if Baker does better without OBJ out there, for me, that's a Baker thing, and that was a thing that was in his head. Okay, not that he had an issue or anything, but if that's truly something that helped cause this turnaround, then maybe Baker was fixated on trying to get the ball to OBJ too much, or focusing on where OBJ was and when he was open, and maybe without him out there, maybe he's looking the field over better. It's possible, but that's the only way I could see why OBJ not being out there would cause Baker to do better. Other than that, I think it was purely coincidence.
Hey, Rod, has anybody addressed that play that OBJ got injured on? I mean, I have never seen anybody talk about what went wrong on that interception. It looked to me like Baker thought he was running a different route. Because
I didn't see anything.
Odell, he was not even looking for the ball.
Mm-mm.
I mean, his eyes were down the field, and the ball was behind him. So I was just wondering if anybody on the coaching staff or anybody has addressed, what actually happened. I find it hard to believe that it was that far underthrown. I mean, if it was underthrown and that play was designed that way, then I think Odell would have been looking for the ball.
Yeah, I think
so. So I don't know what went wrong there, but there's obviously some miscommunication between the two of them, and that's probably more of a contributing factor to why things haven't meshed.
Yeah, it does feel like we've seen a bit of miscommunication between those two over the past season and a half. I think there was more of it last season, but I think we've seen our fair share of it this season. So, one more guy I want to talk about. Now we're going to move on and talk about the Raiders, guys. Harrison Bryant. Okay, you're talking about depth. You talk about a guy who took advantage of getting some playing time. He looked great out there. Okay, couple touchdown catches. He just looks like a guy who's going to be very reliable, great hands, and I wouldn't have any problem starting him. I think he's a guy that can almost play. I think he has pretty decent speed to where he's can kind of act like a receiver out there too. So during the game when they were saying the Browns were down to 2 or 3 receivers, I'm thinking, well, you got Harrison Bryant too. He's kind of almost a wide receiver. So what was the impression you guys got, or I don't know where you stood on Harrison Bryant going into the season or going into this game, but what are your thoughts, Patrick?
I was a big fan of the draft pick, and full disclosure, at about noon on Sunday, I pulled Travis Kelce out of my fantasy lineup and started Harrison Bryant over him, which most people thought was crazy in my league, and I was rewarded handsomely. Big fan. As I referenced here, I like when we have two tight ends on the field, and then I think Bryant adds a little bit more to Njoku. I think he's more willing to block. He does add that right receiver element too, where he runs great routes, gets himself open, very athletic, posts up like a basketball player. Big fan of the guy. I'm really excited to watch what happens with him for the rest of the year. I think he's going to be, if Baker continues to progress and start moving towards that ceiling that we're unsure of what it actually is, Harrison Bryant's going to be a big part of it. Just I am a very big fan of him.
Yeah. So Jeff, do you agree, or am I overreacting a little bit?
Well, I mean, it's a little early, but I think the body of work is coming together for the kid.
Yeah.
How long is Austin Hooper's contract? 3-4 years?
It's 3 or 4. I was thinking. I think it's 4.
I mean, there's a really good chance that Bryant's your number one tight end whenever that contract expires or the Browns move on from Hooper. I mean, everything seems to be there at this point. And I said on draft day that David Njoku's days with the Browns were numbered. And he's kind of, with the exception of the touchdown pass on Sunday, he's kind of played himself off this team almost. So, yeah, there's the great thing about Brian is that, like you said, Rod, there's so many different ways that the Browns can and are using him. He's very versatile. So, in an offense that really only uses 2 wideouts most of the time, he does give you that number 3 between he and Kareem Hunt. They're getting those number 3 wide receiver opportunities. So it was great to see him have that game on Sunday. I think we knew he was capable of it. And it just helps to build his confidence, as a rookie that, he can go out there and compete every week. And man, good to see.
Yeah, the Browns have, for the past several seasons, most of their tight ends have been on the smaller side, and I think Bryant is in that mold where I don't have his size right in front of me, 6'4", 240, 245 or something like that. But I got to tell you guys, it seems like he plays bigger than that.
Absolutely.
He plays through contact and he carries guys. So, it's pretty impressive. I agree with you guys, but yeah, I'm impressed by him, and I think he's got a bright future with the Browns, in my opinion. So let's talk some Raiders. The Browns host the Raiders at 1:00 on Sunday. Raiders are 3-3, and some people are probably chalking this up as a win. Guys, the next several games the Browns play, they're probably not easy games. Games that the Browns are going to have to compete in. Of course, I keep telling people who tell me that there was just the Bengals. It was just Washington. All this. There are not easy wins in the NFL. Nobody just shows up and says, we're not going to play today. You guys get the win. Doesn't happen that way. You show up nonchalant and you're going to get your butt kicked by anybody. So the Raiders, guys, are 3-3. They've got wins over Carolina, New Orleans, and Kansas City. Only team to beat KC this year, 40-32. Mm-hmm. And that was at Kansas City, by the way. Their losses are to the Patriots, the Bills, and the Buccaneers. So yeah. Yeah, so I don't really know if we know what the Raiders are. The Raiders are kind of in the mold of the Browns, where they're pretty much all offense and not so much defense. Mm-hmm. If you look at their stats, they go ahead. Do you have something?
I was going to say they're scoring 27.8 points a game and giving up 30. So very much like the Browns.
Yeah, we know that feeling.
Yeah, I was looking at. I want to talk about. They are they're -5 in turnover ratio, and they have let's see, 7. Yeah, they only have 7 quarterback sacks on the year. So I like those two numbers. Definitely like those two numbers.
Yeah.
But Derek Carr has he's been playing very well. I think he's 11 TDs and only 2 interceptions. Um, and he's been spreading the ball around. They don't really have like a number one guy. He's throwing it to a lot of different guys. And um, I think I was going to talk about Jacobs. Jacobs, it seems like his numbers are a little bit down this year, but I think they're a little bit not averaging as much in the run as they were. So we'll see how that goes. But they're scoring points, so I think it's an interesting game. Another one. It seems like all the Browns games are interesting in matchups when you have a team that's all offense and has the type of defense that the Browns do. You're looking at all these matchups. So Jeff, what do you see in this game? What specifically are you going to be watching as far as matchups or individual players that are most important for the Browns in this one?
Well, I think Chucky is an emotion guy. He tends to wear out his welcome pretty quickly, but while he's in Chucky mode, guys tend to get pretty jazzed and play hard for him. I think a West Coast team coming east is about as hard as an East Coast team going west.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that gives the Browns an edge being at home against a West Coast team. So I'll be watching the emotion level for the Raiders. If we dig ourselves another hole and the Raiders are highly emotional coming in, it could be a long afternoon. But I think on balance, I like our chances being at home against a 3-3 team that we can probably win a shootout against.
Yeah. Patrick, what do you think?
Well, I told you the theme is going to be me talking about the defense, and I'm worried about a couple matchups. That tight end Waller they have creates problems for us.
He creates problems for a lot of people.
He's
pretty
good.
He's a good player.
Just smart enough and good enough that he can dissect some of the problems we have on defense, and then Ruggs can get over the top too. So Ruggs and Waller concern me quite a bit. On the flip side, though, like you said, in terms of the shootout, they do not get after the passer very well. They've got Crosby, the kid from Eastern Michigan, who literally is the only guy that seems to be doing anything for them in terms of creating any quarterback.
I think he has 4 sacks.
Yeah. So he, but I think we can mitigate him. So we can get our points, but we're going to have to. The Raiders have that Waller Ruggs combo is almost tailor made to attack our weaknesses. So I expect the same thing. There are, like you said, there are no easy victories, and nothing's a pushover in the NFL. I think they performed a little better against the cream of the crop than we have, which is a concern as well, considering the way we've looked against the Ravens and Steelers. And then they look more competitive. The Buccaneers, obviously it was a comfortable win, but they look better than we did against a better team. And then you cited the Chiefs game. So I hoping for the best, but I will be cringing every time and crossing my fingers watching Waller and Ruggs on offense.
Do you feel like this Raiders offense compares to the Cowboys offense when the Browns played the Cowboys?
Yeah, you got the Alabama wide receivers connection there and things like that. So I think so. I don't think Jacobs and maybe Elliott's better. Hasn't had as good a year. Mm-hmm. But I think that's a pretty solid comparison, and they got their points too at a certain point in the game. Like I said, tight ends on our linebackers is a problem. So that is what they're going to try to expose.
Yeah.
For
We
sure.
pretty much face that every week, though.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's true. I don't know exactly what Spider 2Y banana is or whatever it is Gruden has, but if it involves a tight end, I'm worried about it. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, they've given up a lot of points. Like you said, they don't get after the quarterback real well. I think obviously the defense is going to need some stops. They're minus in the turnovers. Hopefully, the Browns will create some turnovers like they've been doing. But unfortunately, I think this is going to be another game where it's going to fall on the offense to feel like they've got to score most
yeah,
of the times they have the ball.
yeah.
They're just going to feel like they need to. So hopefully that can happen. And we're kind of early in the week here, guys. So I don't know. I tried to look at the injury report. I see Wyatt Teller is still questionable. So I don't know if there's a chance he's going to play this Sunday or not. I don't know if they even have any idea yet. So it would sure be nice to get him back, to help give Kareem some running room, to get some ground game going. That just to make things a little bit easier for Baker. That would sure be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Jeff, I just before we kind of close things out here and get some predictions for this game, I want to bring up the conversation we had about the recording or about the show that we did back in February.
Yeah.
So Jeff texts me and says, "Hey, listen, you need to listen to the show again that we recorded in February." And I don't remember the exact show or the date, but it's when Jeff and I talked. It was off season, and we talked a bit, but it was too early to really speculate on who the Browns were going to sign or anything. So we talked. We just talked about some of the old Browns teams and stuff, and we kind of came to the conclusion that back when we started watching the Browns, following the Browns, back in the Sipe and then Kozar days, we rooted for the players.
Yeah.
And we've come to the conclusion now that a lot of the newer fans, and guys, I'm going to say this, understand, I'm not really getting on people because I think that there are reasons for this, but people now, a lot of fans don't root for the specific players. And some do. They root for the uniform and they root for the team. Now, part of that is because of free agency and guys don't stay with teams throughout their career, and there seems to be a lot more turnover now for a lot of different reasons. But it's just things are so much different now than they were. And I probably sound really old by saying this, but back when we started, watching, because, we knew who the players were because they were there for several seasons in a row, and you could get to know guys, and, you knew guys' numbers, from the prior season. You didn't have to learn them when a season started. It was just a lot different. And I think that's why I have had such a hard time with this Baker thing too. And of course, people are, because of the game he had, throwing 5 touchdown passes. People are like, oh, well, great. He looks good now. Okay. Baker's the quarterback. I have to root for this guy. Okay. I wasn't a Baker guy going into the draft. Okay. And it doesn't even matter who I thought I wanted at that point. The Browns picked Baker. As soon as they picked him, bing, he's my quarterback. All right. So I'm rooting for Baker. As long as he's a Brown, I'm a Baker fan, and I want him to do well. Okay. That doesn't mean that I, that I think he's perfect or anything else. I see the mistakes in that, but what it does mean is that I want him to have the chance to grow and the chance that any quarterback in Cleveland should get. And this is beyond him being the number one pick, guys. You know, Grady was the number one pick, but the fact that the guy can actually play quarterback and throw the ball with the arm strength and the accuracy that he's shown, at least from time to time, man, why would we not want him out there after the jersey and all this stuff? It's like, do people forget what we've been through in Cleveland? This is what kind of drives me nuts. People, I think people get a little bit like, like they just feel that since we've been through a lot of bad times that we all of a sudden deserve a championship or something. We deserve to have a top 5 quarterback. So Baker's not the guy, so let's get rid of him and we'll just grab another one.
Yep.
We have suffered and suffered with this team, okay, for 20 years. Let's let this thing go right. Let's give the kid a fair chance. And man, let's hope that some of these guys like Baker and Myles and Denzel stick around, for enough seasons that we've, and that we're not just rooting for the uniform that we're playing.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. I think the biggest difference from now and then the Cardiac Kid days in the 80s, though, social media gives us a lot more opportunity to share our opinions. I'm sure there was a few times I heard my dad or someone curse Brian Brennan back in the 80s, but in the end, we were all behind all those guys just because we didn't get all day to sit on social media. So I think it's made it a little more prevalent, but there's no one that's more behind Baker right now than me. I mean, you're talking to a guy who thought Eric Dyer was the savior at one point in time. So I'll take Baker any day of the week.
He looked good coming out. Zaire looked good coming out. So Charlie Fry and a lot of other guys.
Absolutely.
But you're right about social media. Yeah. We wouldn't even know what other people thought if it weren't for social media. Right. So yeah, it'd be different. Right. So, you guys want to throw out some predictions for the Raiders game? Jeff, you want to go first? Yeah,
sure.
Score prediction, and if you want to throw out a stat prediction or something else too for anybody, you could do that.
Yeah, I'll take a big swing at it. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I'm always taking the over with the Browns this year.
Let me before you go on. I had notes here. I looked at the Browns are a 2.5 point favorite, which means it's pretty much an even game with it being at home.
Yep.
The over/under is 53.5 on this game, guys.
Wow.
Okay. 53.5. Okay. Well, I'm saying that there's going to be 80 points scored in this game. And yeah, and the Browns are going to win. The Browns are going to win 42-38. And Baker's probably going to throw 5 touchdown passes again, and it probably still won't be enough for some people.
Wow. I need somebody to look up to see if any Browns quarterback has ever gone 5 touchdown passes in back-to-back weeks.
That I think, that would probably be a first.
Yeah, I would think so. So Patrick, what do you have for us?
I've also got it high scoring, not quite that high. I'm gonna take the 3 points you usually get being at home and give Browns a 34-31 victory. I'm hoping for the big day from Baker. I think we see another big breakout day from Harrison Bryant again. So those are my picks in terms of players. But yeah, 34-31 Browns, and that gets you the over, and they cover there. So
nice. So you got Harrison Bryant with just a big day.
I think he might get 2 touchdowns again. I think he's gonna be a focal point.
Okay. All right. Let's see. What do I think? You guys know I'm taking the Browns, and I also think it'll be a close game. I'm going to go somewhere between what you guys said, so I'll just go like 38-35. But I think we saw a little bit of Rashard Higgins, a little bit of that chemistry. I think Higgins is going to kind of step up in this game, so I think he'll have a nice day. Maybe push 100 receiving yards and a touchdown or 2.
Yep, that's a good call.
Okay. Yeah, and then the Browns get a bye after that. So 6-2 would be nice going into a bye. Let's hope that they can pull that off. Go ahead, Patrick. I think I interrupted you.
Oh no, I just said I'll take it. That's all. I mean, I'm sitting here wistfully thinking about being 6-2 going into a bye. So
yeah, definitely. So yeah, guys, I think we're gonna close up shop. Patrick, what would you like to leave everybody with? Any closing words?
You know what? I think have faith in Baker. I think that's I think if we dissect this podcast, that's probably been the overriding theme. Have faith in Baker. I think he's the guy. I'm going to stick with him and continue to support him. And I think we're going to see him starting to move towards that hypothetical ceiling we were talking about.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's been great talking to you and getting your points of view. So, Jeff, what do you have for us?
Just to finish your thought on what we spoke about back in February, Rod. It's okay to emotionally invest in these players. I just want the fan base to hear that.
Yeah.
I think there's just a reluctance, like you said, there's not psychoanalyzing anybody, but there's just a reluctance to get emotionally invested in players in Cleveland.
Yeah.
We've got good players. It's okay to get emotionally invested in these players.
Yeah. Totally agree. All right, well, let's get another win, guys.
Absolutely.
All right, this has been the Browns Blitz, and we will catch you next time.